So I thought it'd be kind of cool to do something different today and maybe try to do some sort of a podcast type episode. I figured it was worth a shot, and I thought maybe I could start with going from building and modding guitars in my shed to working for Collings guitars within a 2 year period. So I try to leave out a bunch of crap that, is not going to matter and get straight to the point as soon as I can. And if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to leave them down below. I'll gladly answer them. If you like this sort of thing, let me know and I'll do more, because I've got 35 years of, stories of me doing stuff in the music industry and never really going anywhere, but just it's still probably some useful information for somebody anyway. So back in 2019, I built my first parts guitar. Now, before that, I've been playing guitar forever, and I had some interest in modding and building guitars, but not really anything too crazy. Like, I changed out pickups before. I had to learn how to set up my own guitars when I was on the road and different things like that, but nothing really like building my own guitar. But I guess right around 2017, I really started getting into some of these YouTube channels and getting into all this information about modifying and building guitars. And so I really started to gain an interest in it. And when I decided to build my first guitar, rather than do it from scratch, I figured what I would do was take the skills that I already had, and, if I had to buy something to make up for the skills that I didn't have, right? Like, I didn't know how to do fretwork, so I bought a pre-made neck, that sort of thing. I didn't have a shop, so I bought a body that was cut out, but I have years of finishing work experience, so I did all that, that sort of thing. And that's this guitar right here. This one right here. And I still play it. It's still my number one. And I really love this guitar. But, I spent a whole bunch of time scouring the internet and picking out every single nut, bolt, and part that I wanted. Ordered each part. I didn't order a kit or anything. It's just a simple telly with the exact components that I wanted. And I really, really enjoyed it a lot. I did have an issue with when I put the nut in. I didn't know how to cut the nut very well. And so I couldn't quite put my finger on what was going on with the guitar. And then I saw this ad, I think it was on Facebook or something, for this school called Guitar Craft Academy, I think it was, or Guitar Academy Craft or something like that. Anyway, it's a luthier school in Nashville, Tennessee that was associated with a Musicians Institute too, and they were offering a weekend guitar maintenance course. And I was in Huntsville at the time, so I was only an hour away or whatever. So I decided to go ahead and take the course, and I took my guitar and I went through the whole process of setting it up and learning from those guys. And my whole experience with building this guitar completely changed the way I looked at building and playing guitars. I would get that feeling, that feeling when you're playing that you normally get, but I would get it while I was building the guitars too. So there was something going on there where it really, really felt right to me, even though I was older, I'm 53, but I started this whole process when I was 46, 47, but I've been playing guitar since I was 14, so, there's a lot of time in there. Anyway, when you take that maintenance course, they really push towards, recruiting people to go to that school. And, most of the time they're going to be going after the younger guys, the college kids, the ones where, their parents want them to go to school, but they don't want to go to regular school, so they'll go to some sort of trade school or whatever. Got me thinking maybe I need to check it out. But in the meantime, I was also looking into what it would take to get hired by a company. Like at that time I was looking at Heritage Guitars. I was looking to go to work for them guys or try to figure out how I could get hired. And most of the time they want you to take some sort of trade school, to help you learn the craft. And so that was another thing that made me think, well, maybe I need to, look into this school. Also, back in 1996, I went to a school called Music Tech, which was like MI. It was like a music school, but you didn't have to take the math and all that. You just go and play. I just went and played guitar for a year, and by the time I was done, I came out of the school, I was playing music full time. So with my experience with these sort of schools has been nothing but great. I thought, well, maybe it'd be a good idea to check into this, see what it would take to get going, and just see what happens. Most of the time, the luthier schools are, 3 to 6 months, and it's not like very long. But you have to dedicate yourself to that time being for that, right? So while I was looking into all this other stuff, it didn't seem financially feasible for me to try to go to Guitar Craft Academy. I started looking at like the StewMac website or somewhere where they had StewMac had a list of different schools around the country that were luthier schools, and there was one in Michigan, but they had like a 2-year waiting list. There was the one in Nashville, which was really pretty expensive. And then there was a little school in Arizona called Roberto Venn School of Luthery. And that school really popped out at me. So I started doing a little research about that. And I realized that my family, I had some family there, and that if I could figure out a way to attend the school, maybe I'd at least have somebody there that I knew where I could get a leg in going to that school or whatnot. So I did everything I had to do. I applied to the school. I got accepted. I moved to Arizona, stayed with my aunt in her backyard in an RV for the whole time. And this was right around the time when COVID hit and everything. So I was the first class back in August of 2020 where they were allowing people to do the COVID stuff and all that. So that was just kind of weird too. But anyway, so from the time I built my first parts guitar to the time I started to attend the school was exactly a year. And I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. Like, things were just like falling in line. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty crazy how you could just take a simple idea and how it can bloom into something where you feel like you're following it, because in a lot of ways, I feel like it kind of picked me because of the fact that, I've been playing guitar forever, and there's something to be said about somebody who's been a musician for a long time, that they know their instrument like the back of their hand, and that like, I just feel like there's something there that would help me be a better guitar builder than, say, somebody who didn't play or somebody who didn't know how to play or that sort of thing. So I really felt like I would have a nuanced understanding of building these instruments and working on them than, say, like I said, somebody who didn't play at all. So anyway, so we start in August, and it was 5 months. It was a 5-month school, and you went to school 50 hours a week, and you treat it like a job, right? When I started going there, I was the oldest guy there, I think. Me and another guy. I mean, there was only 20 or 25 people in the class, so it's a very, very teeny tiny school. And like, the one guy on either side of me, you could combine their ages, and I was still older than them. You know what I mean? So, but it was really great to, spend time around that energy. And it was fun to, start doing that. So really, going to that school was like a vacation for me. I'd been working construction forever, and, this was, it was just like, playland in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? There's wood everywhere. They had super nice equipment. You're around really cool people who have the same interest as you. Even if, even though I was way older, I still felt very comfortable there and very much like at home. So the school has some of the best, these schools have some of the best luthiers in the country that work there, and they teach everybody. So there's a really great opportunity to learn and learn from the best. But not only that, though, is that you learn how to, in some ways, it helps you with years and years of mistakes, right? So I could have been building for 20 years by myself in my shed, and some of the tricks and tips that you get when you go to the school just bypasses, like say one thing would bypass 5 years of dealing with that, that sort of thing. So I really am a firm believer in these trade schools and what you can go to learn how to do things. So while I was going to the school, they also have people in the industry that sort of headhunt. They have different companies come in, and they'll have like a sort of like a job fair type of thing, right? So Gibson would go in there, and you could go talk to the rep for Gibson and that sort of thing, or Taylor guitars, or you name it. They literally will go in and handpick certain people, the top students of the class. And so it's really great for, especially if you're super young, but even if you're not, like, a lot of us think about, well, that's going to be a manufacturing job, right? And so there's some of the things that, take away from the magic of building a guitar in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? But to me, it was all this, I didn't really care because it was my way to not do construction anymore. So I didn't care if I was sweeping the floors. I was around guitars, I was around guitar builders, and, it was cool. And so we make our resumes and deal with all that stuff, and everything. And one day, Collings Guitars came in, and I met with their rep, and I talked to them for a little while. And to me, Collings makes the best guitars in the industry, I believe. I mean, hands down, their stuff is very expensive, but there's a reason for it. It's worth every penny. And so I thought if I could get my foot in the door there and just soak everything in and learn and do whatever they expected me to do, then I was learning from the best. And so after you graduate from the school, you have an acoustic guitar and you have a electric guitar that you design and build yourself. And I still play both of them. I don't have them here right now, but I do have another video where I talk about building these guitars. You can see that. I'll try to put it in the description below. And so in some ways you have proof of your work, while you're going through the school. They call them the student guitars. So yes, you're guided by professionals, but you do all the work. Nobody does anything for you. Like literally, it's your hands, it's your whatever. You just follow instructions if there is any, and you deal with troubleshooting and the whole 9 yards. Like my acoustic guitar, I had to reglue the bridge. So I also had gotten that experience while I was doing that because I screwed up the bridge, So it's this really cool thing that I really thought, I really felt like a super cool vacation for me for that 5 months. And I also had two great guitars that, if you ever see any of my acoustic guitar videos, that's the guitar that I use. That's the guitar that I play, is the one I built at Roberto Venn. So anyway, long story short, I sent a resume over to them, and they set me up for an interview. So I graduated on a Friday, and I was in my car heading to Austin for my interview that Monday. So literally, I graduated, and the next day I was in my vehicle on my way to Austin to go for the interview. And so I went to the interview, did all that. Everything went really well. I took my guitars in. I did all that stuff, and I mean, it was like 2 or 3 days later, I got an offer. I got a call, and they said, "Yeah, we'd be interested in having you come work for us if you want." So I had to. Uh, I said, "Yeah, sure," and it was like I needed a couple weeks to be able to come up with some sort of money to go because I literally had like no money. I hadn't been working very much because of the fact that I was going to the school and, all that. But I did have a van, and I figured out that if I could, I put an electrical box in the van, and I thought if I needed to stay in my van for a short period of time, I could do that while I was sorting everything else out. Because as long as you're working and you're making more money, then you're going to, be okay pretty much. Like certain parts of it really was terrible. Like I lived in my van for 1 month. It was awful. Like there was what I did was I put a bed in there and I put a fridge and a microwave in there, and then like drove out to Austin and rented a RV spot. And they let me rent the spot and do all that, and then I think it was like a month. Anyway, I had gotten a hold of a really cheap used RV, and I started staying into there after a month. But I mean, you just do what you got to do to get it done, right? Like I knew once, as long as I was working, I didn't have any issues with not being able to make any money. Anything else would just be, you know, like anything else really wouldn't matter. I was going to be able to deal with it, right? So that's what I did, and then I ended up working for them for like a year, and it was a dream job. I'll be honest with you. I loved every minute of going to work. I missed one day in a year, I think it was, and I got to do a variety of jobs, and it was very, very. I got to learn a lot, and I also worked around some legends in the luthier industry, so it was really great. But the only issue was I hurt my back. Like I've had back issues on and off over the last few years, and walking on that concrete 50 hours a week by the end of that year really tore my back up. So I ended up having to go to the doctor and deal with all that. They were very accommodating with trying to work with me on getting this done, but the doctor wanted to put me on pain medicine, and I had bouts with pain medication back in 2012, and I quit taking the stuff, and so there was no way that I was going to take a chance of getting hooked on anything like that again. So I ended up having to do something else in the meantime, just because it doesn't matter what I'm doing, even if it's a dream job and I love it and all that. I'm not going to compromise my sobriety as far as the pill thing goes and deal with that. So we ended up having to go our separate ways, but I really have to say it was wonderful, and the learning experience was beautiful. And I mean, it's pretty interesting how one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, from 2019 to 2021, where I was able to do this thing that was just a hobby and make it into a career in a very short period of time, and learn and get good and grow and do all that too. It was just very, very, very interesting. If you have any questions, I know it might seem a little bit vague, but I'm trying to like not put too much, like I'm trying to not veer off course a whole lot. You know what I mean? And so if there's anything you want to know about, let me know down in the comments below. And also, if you do like these types of things, also let me know, and I will try to figure out some other things that might be interesting to talk about if this is something you're into. So the whole point of me saying all this was to say to you that don't get too frustrated with whatever situation you're in, right? If there's a will, there's a way, right? Like you don't have to have $1 million investor and to do something. You don't have to have all the top gear to make a video. You don't have to do all that. What you have to do is figure out that's something that you're going to do and figure out a way to do it. If you're thinking about becoming a luthier and building guitars, you might want to check into maybe one of these trade schools. I mean, that would be a great first step because it gives you not only great tools to build with, but it also gets your foot in the door in the industry. While I was working at Collings Guitars, I didn't have my YouTube channel or anything like that either. So I'm probably, if I would still be working at Collings, I probably wouldn't have it because I loved the job. I mean, it was a dream job for me personally. I woke up every day happy to go into work, and I went to bed every night excited about going back. I'd still be working there today if it hadn't been for my back. And the people were great. Everything was wonderful that way. So I still look back at it as very fond memories. But if you like this, give it a like. We will see you on the next one. Thank you.